The air hung still and soft, like a great, grey blanket. The temperature was a gentle 13 degrees Celsius, and it felt like 13 as well, a quiet coolness against the skin. The atmospheric pressure was moderate, a steady hum beneath everything, and the air held a dampness, a pleasant, earthy humidity. The wind was barely a whisper, a sigh that rustled the leaves of the eucalyptus trees with a delicate, hesitant sound. It began, as many things do, with a single drop of rain. A fat, glistening drop rolling slowly down a broad eucalyptus leaf, reflecting the muted grey of the sky. It landed on the damp earth, and slowly, very slowly, began to spread, darkening the moss that covered the roots of an ancient, sprawling tree. Beneath this tree, nestled in a small hollow, lived a pademelon. He was a gentle creature, mostly brown and grey, with large, velvety ears that he constantly twitched, listening to the subtle sounds of the forest. He spent his days in a quiet, contented way, mostly eating ferns and soft grasses. He wasn't a busy pademelon, not at all. He simply was existing peacefully within the embrace of the forest. The rain continued, a soft, persistent drumming on the leaves. It wasn't a storm, it was a calm, steady rain, like a lullaby. The pademelon, feeling the coolness on his fur, moved slowly towards a patch of particularly succulent ferns. He nibbled on them thoughtfully, one leaf at a time, carefully selecting the freshest, greenest ones. The raindrops clung to his whiskers, and he licked them away with a small pink tongue. Nearby, an old woman sat on a smooth, grey stone. She was dressed in a simple woolen shawl, the colour of moss in twilight. She wasn't doing anything remarkable, not really. She was simply watching the rain. She had been sitting there for a very long time, perhaps an hour, perhaps 2. She closed her eyes for a while, and a small smile touched her lips. A stream, a little ribbon of water, trickled through the forest floor, swollen with the rain. It flowed slowly, steadily, over smooth pebbles and moss-covered stones. The sound of the water was a constant, soothing murmur. The pademelon, having finished his ferns, followed the stream for a short distance, drinking from the clear, cool water. He tilted his head, listening to the gurgle and splash, and then continued on his way, his pace deliberate and unhurried. The old woman watched him, her eyes still closed. She felt a quiet sense of peace, a feeling of gratitude for the simple beauty of the world around her. She reached out and gently touched a blade of grass, feeling its dampness against her hand. It was a small, insignificant gesture, but it was filled with a deep, abiding contentment. The rain continued its gentle work, washing the forest clean. The ferns grew greener, the moss softer, the earth more fragrant. The pademelon, now resting beneath the shade of a particularly large eucalyptus tree, began to twitch his ears occasionally, but mostly he simply rested. He closed his eyes, and his breathing became slow and even. A robin, a small, bright red bird, hopped onto a branch above him. It tilted its head and sang a single, clear note, a brief, melodic sound that echoed through the stillness. The pademelon didn't open his eyes. He simply listened, and then went back to resting. The old woman opened her eyes. She looked at the pademelon, and then she smiled again. She took a small, smooth stone from her pocket and turned it over in her hands, examining it closely. It was a grey stone, speckled with tiny bits of white and brown. She felt its coolness against her skin. The stream continued to flow, carrying fallen leaves and twigs along with it. The pademelon, having rested for a while, slowly rose and began to graze on the grass. He moved with a quiet grace, his movements smooth and effortless. He paid no attention to anything, simply eating and resting. The rain began to slow. The drops became smaller, less frequent. The sound of the forest changed subtly. The drumming of the rain faded, replaced by the rustle of the leaves and the quiet murmur of the stream. A small beetle, a dark, shiny creature, crawled slowly across a leaf. It moved with painstaking care, its legs moving in a precise, methodical way. It wasn't going anywhere in particular. It was simply exploring its surroundings. The old woman stood up and began to walk slowly back towards where she had started. She didn't hurry. She simply walked, taking in the beauty of the forest around her. She paused occasionally to look at a flower, a tiny, delicate blossom, or to listen to the sound of the stream. The pademelon continued to graze, his movements slow and deliberate. He was aware of everything around him, the coolness of the air, the scent of the earth, the sound of the stream, but he didn't feel the need to react to anything. He was content to simply be asterisk. The last of the rain stopped. The air felt fresh and clean, washed and renewed. A single ray of sunlight broke through the clouds, illuminating a patch of the forest floor. It was a soft golden light, warm and gentle. The beetle continued its slow, methodical journey. It moved across the leaf, and then across a smooth, grey stone, pausing occasionally to rest. The old woman reached her starting point. She sat down on the stone, looking out at the forest. She closed her eyes again, and a feeling of profound peace settled over her. The pademelon, having finished his grazing, moved towards the stream and drank deeply. He licked his paws clean, and then settled down beneath the tree, resting in the warmth of the sunlight. The stream flowed on, its sound a constant, soothing murmur. The air was still and quiet, filled with the scent of wet earth and eucalyptus leaves. A butterfly, a small, colourful creature, fluttered past. It danced in the air, its wings moving with delicate grace. It didn't linger, it simply moved on. Exploring the forest, the old woman remained sitting on the stone, looking out at the forest. She felt a sense of gratitude for the simple beauty of the world around her. She realized that true happiness wasn't about chasing after something, it was about appreciating what you already had. The pademelon, having rested for a while, slowly rose and began to explore the forest, moving with a quiet grace. He didn't go anywhere in particular, he simply wandered, his movements slow and deliberate. He paid no attention to anything, simply existing within the embrace of the forest. The air continued to be still and quiet, filled with the scent of wet earth and eucalyptus leaves. The sun shone warmly, casting long shadows across the forest floor. The old woman stood up and began to walk slowly back towards where she had started. She didn't hurry, she simply walked, taking in the beauty of the forest around her. She paused occasionally to look at a flower, a tiny, delicate blossom, or to listen to the sound of the stream. As she walked, she thought about the pademelon, about the beetle, about the butterfly, about the old woman sitting on the stone. She realized that everyone, even the smallest creatures, had their own place in the world, their own way of being, and she realized that it was perfectly all right to simply be asterisk, to accept things as they are, to find contentment in the simple things. The pademelon continued to graze, his movements slow and deliberate. He was aware of everything around him, the coolness of the air, the scent of the earth, the sound of the stream, but he didn't feel the need to react to anything. He was content to simply be asterisk. The air continued to be still and quiet, filled with the scent of wet earth and eucalyptus leaves. The sun shone warmly, casting long shadows across the forest floor. As the last of the sunlight faded, the forest grew darker, but it was still a peaceful darkness, filled with the sounds of the night. The pademelon settled down beneath the tree, resting in the darkness. The old woman continued to walk slowly back towards where she had started. She didn't hurry, she simply walked, taking in the beauty of the forest around her. Finally, she reached her starting point. She sat down on the stone, looking out at the forest. She closed her eyes again, and a feeling of profound peace settled over her, and as she sat there, She knew that everything would be all right. The Piedmon slept soundly beneath the tree, his breathing slow and even. The air was still and quiet, filled with the scent of wet earth and eucalyptus leaves. The forest was at peace, and so, too, was she. It was good to simply be asterisk. It was good to rest. It was good to let go. And as you listen to the quiet sounds of the night, you too can find peace and contentment. Allow your body to relax. Let go of any worries or concerns. Just breathe and drift. Sleep. Sleep.